Hey everybody, it's me, Rick Acosta, the Dodger Card Collector, coming to you with another video. Today is Friday, May 24th. Happy Memorial Day weekend. I hope that you're relaxing and spending time with family, maybe going to a barbecue. It's going to be a nice weekend out here in Southern California, so looking forward to it. It's been a good week. One of my favorite bands was in town this week, Pearl Jam. They were here on Tuesday night and Wednesday night. I went both nights. I stood the entire night because the show was so good and the music was so good that this old guy's pretty tired. So I'm a little beat up, but it was a great show. And it's kind of like what I mentioned to you guys last week. I love sports. I also love music. So I don't follow newer music as much, but if someone like Pearl Jam or U2 or Bruce Springsteen or Cheap Trick, something like that is around, I will do my best to go and try and see them. But had a really good time. So today I wanted to talk to you is about card collecting, and I know that a lot of the card collectors, all of us at one point have left this hobby and have come back. We might have taken a 2 year break, a 5 year break, a 20 year break. I don't know. I know a lot of people came back during COVID. I've heard that story. And I wanted to share my return with you, not because I want you to follow what I do, just because I see a lot of videos from people that say, you should buy this card. These are the cards you should think about. Are you thinking about investing? I'm here more to tell you my experience, because maybe that my experience will help you in your path to returning to buying sports cards and just helping you do things in a nice orderly fashion. I hope. I know that I don't always follow that rule, but I just thought I would talk to you guys little bit about that. I'm going to give you a quick recap of my. Originally, I bought cards just like all of you as a kid. From 1973 to 1980, I bought a lot of cards. I had almost complete sets for most of those years. By the time I was 15, all those sets were like 90% or all complete. Had some 72, 71, 70s, a couple of hundred cards, some maybe 50 cards every year from 1966 onwards. Had a handful of 1950s cards, nothing special. Um, and I was looking forward in 1981 to, I remember they announced that Fleer and Donruss were going to be joining Topps and selling cards, and I thought that was going to be really neat. But for some reason, in the spring of 1981, I was no longer interested in sports cards. I don't know if it was just the time of my life, and I know that I was wanting to buy a car, and I was in high school, and I wanted to buy, like I said, I wanted to buy a car, which meant I had to work because nobody was going to just give me a car. I had to work, and there were, I discovered girls, all that type of stuff, and I was listening to music. Um, at 16, music was highly influential to me at that point. So I stopped collecting. And at that point, like I said, I had my collection of all those 70s, I'll say all those 70s cards. And eventually they ended up eventually like the cards ended up leaving the house and going into the back shed. And from the back shed, maybe a box opened up one day, and the cards were exposed to the elements, and my cards were never in incredible shape either. I played with those cards. I had them on the floor. I'd play a baseball game with them. I would take them to school. I would take them to little league practice. They would just end up everywhere. I wasn't somebody who used them as bike spokes, but I'd take my cards to people's houses and stuff like that. So when eventually I gave up those cards, and the reason I gave up those cards was because we moved. And when we moved in 1986 to a new house, there just wasn't room for the cards. So they were just sitting in a box outside, and I just left them there. And, some of you I hear a lot of people say, oh, if I had all the cards I had when I was a kid, I'd be a millionaire. And I just kind of chuckle at that because, maybe you had a nice collection, but my collection was good to VG at best anyway. I was more into quantity, not quality. So if I had 500 1972 cards and they were all beat up, that's okay. You should see the 1968 Topps Rod Carew card. I don't have it anymore, but back then it looked like it had been it had been washed a few times. So if you ever have regrets about your old collection, don't, because most likely if God magically brought those cards to you right now and you looked at them, you'd say, these are shitty. So I have no regrets there. But like I said, so around 1980, 81, I stopped collecting. I had a little dabble in the 80s for maybe a year, picked up for some reason, I bought a 1987 set. In the early 90s, I went through a hockey phase, bought some wax for about 3 to 5 years. I had decent hockey cards. I held on to some of them. Nothing vintage though. And then again, took some time off. In the late 90s, mid to late 90s, when eBay came out, this is where I started buying cards. And this is where the memory gets a little faded. I started buying cards, and I was buying a lot of they were literally exclusively Dodger cards. And I was buying Dodger cards from like from 1957 or 58 to modern, which back then would have been the late 90s. I was buying a lot of cards, and I was buying like 3,000 count boxes, and I was buying team sets, all that type of stuff. And that stuff ended up in a closet. And as I moved through my various apartments as I got older, I held on to them. Somewhere around 2010 or 2000, no, somewhere 2008, 2010, I noticed for the first time the Topps Heritage sets, and I loved them. You know, current players on the former classic designs. So I remember I bought some sets. I had 3 or 4 years worth of sets, and they weren't cheap back then. That was $100, and $100 was a lot of money. And eventually, what happened was in 2012, yeah, around 2012, I bought my house, and the plan was I would like to, buy my house, work on the house, but also on the side, be able to enjoy my baseball cards and continue my card collecting, or maybe start a new chapter of card collecting. And that didn't happen. Somewhere in the first couple of years, I became house poor, and all of a sudden, money that was supposed to be coming in that I thought was coming in wasn't coming in. So again, I sold all my Topps Heritage sets. I sold some hockey sets that I had from the early 80s. Again, no regrets. There really wasn't. I wasn't like going, oh my God. I sold a few things, and then everything else just stayed in the closet. Somewhere around 2016-ish, I started getting the urge again, or the itch, and I had bought a Beckett, and there were just too many cards, and I knew that. So I started looking online just at stuff, and for some reason I came across this website. It still exists to this day. I do not think it works. It's called the ultimateteamset.com. This guy had put together team sets of every Major League Baseball team from 1977 through present day. I mean, yes, if you were the Colorado Rockies, your timeline started a lot earlier. But I was like, oh, this is neat. And he had a complete checklist. Every Topps card, every Topps update card was included. And when I say every card, it's not just the players in their Dodger uniforms, but if there was a league leaders card that had a Dodger card, if there was a postseason card or a turn back the clock card, all those guys would be included in the team set. So I thought this was great. Printed it out. Tried to make a deal with the guy. He wanted $400. He would put every card in a penny sleeve. Every penny sleeve would come with a top loader. He'd put in these nice, 2,000 count box and sell it to you. We couldn't strike a deal just because I thought $400 was a lot of money. And I eventually decided I could do this on my own. So with a budget, I always laugh at this, of $25 a month, I started buying Dodger team cards again, Dodger team sets. Mind you, I already had a closet full of cards. So somewhere in there, I bought, I would say 20, let's just say 2001 to 2017, I bought through eBay. Each set back there was only like $2.50, $3, maybe $5 at the most. But I had accumulated all the 21st century cards. Then I went back to the closet. And this was where things got strange, just because every time I'd go through there, I'd start finding stuff. Yes, I found my Dodger cards. I forgot. I put them all in binders. I had a ton of Dodger cards from 1958 through 1999 in binders. Then I kept going, what's this binder and what's this box? And I found like a 1973 set. I found a 1972 500 cards. 1971, I had 400 cards. 1970, I had 300 cards. And I go, wow, look at all these cards just coming out of the woodwork. So I got organized. And like I said, originally the plan was let's do Dodger cards only. I started building. I took all the cards out of the binder, put them in penny sleeves, put the penny sleeves in top loaders, just like I had seen the Ultimate Team set guy do it. Put them in this case back here. They're still back there to this day. Did that. Then I grabbed my sets and I started building sets. And I said I wanted all the sets that when I was a kid. So finished 1973 to 1980. I bought 1981 and 1981 through 84. I built in addition. Then I said I always loved the 72 set. Went back and bought and built the 72 set, built the 71 set, built the 70 set. So then I started, around that time, I think I probably came on YouTube and I started noticing videos of guys buying graded cards and graded Hall of Fame cards. And I started buying them. So anyway, I started doing that stuff. And that was kind of like I came to the point where I am today, where I always say this, I have three facets. I have my Dodger team sets. I have my sets that date back to 1941. The complete sets. My Dodger sets date from 1915. Well, if you count the T2, 1909 to present day. They're not all complete. I have about 99% of the Dodger cards that I need. And then I have my third facet are Hall of Fame cards, graded cards. But when I came back, I didn't necessarily go crazy. I think in the 90s with eBay, I did. I was buying a lot of cards. I remember one time I spent $200 on Dodger cards somewhere in the late 90s, and my rent was only $500. So 40% of my budget or 40% of my money went to cards, and I think things got out of control. Since I've come back, I'm pretty good. There are days where I buy a lot of cards. There are days where I don't buy many. I try to stick to a budget, but there are days when all of a sudden a 1941 play ball Ted Williams comes out and you already bought $300 worth of cards, but you really want this card, and you look at the credit card and you figure out, okay, well, I could put it on the credit card. I'll make 4 payments or 3 payments, pay it off. That happens once in a while. I do my damnedest not to go into debt, and knock on wood, I am not in debt when it comes to sports card collecting. But I wanted to talk to you guys just about that, just to give you if I didn't say this earlier, I just wanted to tell you my experience, just because, like I said, you see a lot of guys here buying a lot of cards. You're seeing some really nice cards. You don't have to do that. I have fun with the cards that I buy. I am on a budget. Yes, sometimes I go over that budget, let's be honest, but I have a good time doing it. I just wanted to share my experience with you on what I did. I don't feel I need every card at this point. At one point, that was a goal. I wanted every Topps card from 1951 to 1980. I don't need that now. I have all the sets from the 70s. I have half the sets from the 80s. The 60s, I have close to 3 sets. From the 50s, I have 2 sets. From the 40s, I have 1 set. Maybe I got 1 or 2 more sets left in me. That's enough. That's really enough. And then from there, I could buy some Hall of Fame graded cards, and I don't have to go crazy with it. Yeah, someday I would like to buy I think for me, if I could, I'd like to buy the 1949 Bowman Jackie Robinson. That's like the one Bowman card I need. But like I say, I don't go crazy, and you don't have to go crazy either when it comes to card collecting, because these cards aren't going away. The other day, I was looking at I need one more card to finish the 1963 Topps set, Roberto Clemente. And I saw it at a card show, and I go, wow, it's several $100s. And I didn't even think twice. I go, I'm not buying it. I don't need the card that badly. And I actually just found it this week. I literally just found it, and I'm talking to the owner right now. And I hope to make a deal for way less than the several $100s I saw the other day. But you just have to be patient. Buy what you like. You don't have to buy all the cards at once. They're not all going away. I can't speak for modern, so don't ask. But the cards aren't going away. Those cards will always be there. If that 1963 Topps Willie Mays sold on eBay, there'll be another one listed an hour later. And I try to remember that when it comes to my time. And because of the cards I'm going to show you here in a moment, I've been buying some 1950 Bowman cards, and I was telling a buddy last night. I said I bought like 10 to 15 1950s cards, and I had the opportunity to buy 50 more cards from 1950, and the price was good and all that. And all of a sudden, when I go, no, don't. I go, don't build another set right now. Finish that 1963 set, and which is, like I said, one card. In 1968, I need 14 cards. Cut that in half, cut that down to six to eight cards. Then you can start buying 1950s cards. Um, I have no goal. I have no desire to be working on a bunch of sets at the same time. There are people that do that. That's their prerogative. I just choose not to do it. I like having two or three. I like doing two or three sets at a time. Lately it's been like two, and if I wrap up 63, and I hope to wrap up 68 by the end of the summer, or the fall. At that point, oh, maybe I'll start a 1950 Bowman set. Who knows? Or I'll just work on just buying cards, because buying cards is fun, and I don't feel the need to what's that phrase? Keep up with the Joneses. I just buy what I like to buy, and I love my collection. I want it to look good, and I hopefully you guys like that when it comes to your collections. All right, I've talked long enough. I'm going to show you some pickups. I have bought some cards the past few weeks, some 1950 Bowman, some 1968 stuff, and there's a Diamond Stars card I want to show you. So I'm going to turn the camera around and show you some cards, all right? Thanks, guys. All right, so the first cards I'm going to show you are from 1950. I bought these for the first group. There's like, what, 6 cards from eBay? These are all $3 a piece. I'm going to start with Don Calloway of the Tigers. Don Calloway. And I say this a lot in my videos. I'm really liking these 1950 Bowman cards. There's Johnny Pesky. Yeah, the same Johnny Pesky of Pesky's Pole at Fenway Park. There's Johnny Pesky. The next guy is Joe Coleman. Not to be confused with the Joe Coleman who played for the Tigers in the 70s. That's the Joe Coleman I remember. This Joe Coleman played for the A's, the Philadelphia A's at this point. So that's Joe Coleman. Like the clouds in the background and the fence. These are just really colorful cards. So much detail in these cards. I wonder if the cards were bigger, if the detail wouldn't look as big. That's why I like these cards. The cards are tiny, but they put good detail in here. Here is Sibby Sitsi of the Boston Braves. Sibby Sitsi. And the next guy is Lou Stringer of the Boston Red Sox. Red Sox still have these same exact uniforms. And the last card from this batch is Bob Kane. Bob Kane. Look at the forest behind him. Bob Kane of the White Sox. Okay. So that's Bob Kane. Now the next batch is also from 1950. These came from Greg Morris on eBay. I paid roughly $5.50 a card, so these were a little bit more expensive. This is Gil Cohn. Gil Cohn of the Washington Senators. You see the players behind him in the dugout. The next guy of the Cleveland Indians is Steve Kromek. Steve Kromek. And then, I like this card a lot. This is Pat Mullen. I think is that Tiger Stadium? What team does he play for? Yeah, Detroit Tigers. That, I'm assuming, is Tiger Stadium in the background. We're number 6. Al Kaline obviously hadn't arrived by this point yet. So that's Pat Mullen. Also now from the Philadelphia Athletics is Paul Leonard. Paul Leonard. Way before the A's had the green and yellow. And next, I believe he's from the Chicago Cubs. since they don't have the names and the team in the front, I always have to I have to write it down actually before I introduce them. This is Hank Edwards of the Chicago Cubs. You can tell that's Wrigley Field in the background. Hank Edwards. And I'm going to get his name right here. Hank Borowy. Hank Borowy of the Philadelphia Phillies. Everybody has blue skies behind them on this set. And the next pickup is going to be Harold Gilbert of the New York Giants. Harold Gilbert. So those are my 1950s cards. Some more cards that I bought from Greg Morris. I picked up a couple more 1968 Topps Game. Here's Dean Chance. Pitched a no-hitter with the... was it with the Angels or with the Twins? I don't remember anymore. I know he won the Cy Young Award with the Twins. Dean Chance. That's when the Angels had already started trading away good players. Next guy is George Scott. I remember him with the Red Sox. Then they traded him to the Brewers. Then the Brewers traded him back to the Red Sox. Big guy who could hit home runs. That's what I always remembered about him. George Scott. I need 6 more of these Topps Game cards to finish. The last card from 1968 is the very last Roger Maris card that was made while he was on the St. Louis Cardinals in 1968. That's a good-looking card. Roger Maris. I don't know if Maris has a bad card out there, you guys. You'll have to tell me if he does. So with this, I need 14 more cards to finish 1968. I have 2 more cards coming in the mail. So we're getting there. We're getting there. And last 2 cards, just to continue the 1950 theme, I was able to pick up this 1950 Bowman Phil Rizzuto that I have always loved. Couldn't turn it down. I saw the price, and there were people looking to sell this for double on eBay. The same PSA 4, and I was just like, I don't know if I'll ever find it this cheap. And whenever I see it at a show, it's expensive. So picked that up. Now with that, I've bought with the cards I just picked up that I just showed you in this Rizzuto. I have 45 cards from 1950 Bowman. So what? I still need 207 more. If I keep saying if, but obviously the totals are getting bigger. If I build that set, I'm getting closer to. It'll be slow. It'll be like, I'm trying to buy like 10 cards at a time, 5 cards at a time, not like a huge stack of 100. And the last card I bought is this according to PSA here, the 1936 Diamond Stars. I know it more as 1934 to 1936 Diamond Stars, but I know if there's a Diamond Stars expert, I know that cards also were released just for 34, just for 35, and just for 36. Here's the Crow, Frank Crosetti. And the thing I like the color, I like the background. They're a little unrealistic, but I love how the catcher's back there and the on-deck player, the on-deck batter's there, and there's a guy in the dugout. And these are just good-looking cards. And Crosetti is not a Hall of Famer, but as I've mentioned to you in the past, I'm trying to add cards to my collection that did not make it. Players that played in 1941 but did not make it on the 1941 play ball set. Originally, I was focusing on Hall of Famers, and I still am. But when I saw Frank Crosetti, I go, wait a minute, this guy played on the Yankees a long time. And he would have had a card in 1941 if they had chosen to make one. So here's Crosetti. I know that he had a long career with the Yankees as a player, became the third base coach. And I was actually watching video the other day of Mickey Mantle's 500th home run. And I believe he was the third base coach that partially ran with Mickey as he rounded third. And I think he was also there to greet Roger Maris in 1961 when he hit his 61st home run. So this guy, Frank Crosetti, he's been there a lot, the Crow. So I want to get some Yankees from that era just because I don't have Ruth and Gehrig. But I want to get guys like Tony Lazzeri and Frank Crosetti, and I've already got guys like Lefty Gomez and Tommy Henrich. just because I love my Dodger cards, but the Yankees have a history that's a lot bigger than the Dodgers are, and it's neat to see these Yankee cards. But that's my Frank Crosetti. And if you stuck around this long, you guys, thanks so much. And we'll talk to you next time. Have a great weekend.